Is it better to use lead forms or landing pages when running Facebook ad campaigns? I personally believe that landing pages produce higher quality leads, and in this video, I'm going to share some examples from inside my ad manager and explain why I believe that to be the case. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples from inside my ad manager. So this first example is from a real estate developer client, and these are different lead form or lead generation campaigns that we ran throughout 2020. If you've seen some of my previous videos on my channel, you'll probably know that lead forms and lead generation campaigns used to be my preferred way of doing things, simply because you can generate a higher volume of leads for less money. As you can see, these campaigns spent quite a bit of money, generated a pretty substantial amount of leads, over 2,000 last year, and the average cost per lead was a little over $4, and this is in Canadian currency. So pretty good results, high volume of leads, and relatively inexpensive as well. I'll point out the lead conversion rate is 21% here as well, which means of all of the people who clicked on the ad and opened up the lead form, 21% of them on average completed the form. Now these three campaigns are from the very same client. They're more recent, and these are using the conversion marketing objective, and they're leading to a landing page. So the reason I'm showing these ones is because they're offering similar lead magnets as those lead generation ones we just looked at. So it's a pretty fair comparison. You'll notice that we obviously haven't spent as much money on these campaigns, so it's hard to compare perfectly. But the one thing you will notice is that the cost per result is much higher. In this case, it's about 10 times as expensive to generate leads from landing pages versus lead forms. The average cost per lead here is between $20 and $40. You'll notice that the cost per click, click-through rate, and CPM are relatively similar. They're very comparable, but the lead conversion rate is the big difference here. So the conversion rate with the landing page in this case is between 2 and 4%, whereas it was 21% with lead forms. So you're probably wondering, why do I think that this approach with landing pages is better than using lead forms? And the simple answer is that the quality of the leads I found is much higher with landing page type campaigns. And the only way you can really figure this out is by having communication with your client. So with this client, we meet every couple weeks with their sales team, which is where these leads go to. They follow up with every lead that we generate for them. And so we meet every couple weeks and get their feedback on some of the conversations that they're having, which ones are leading to offers, and just generally speaking, what's the quality of the conversations that they're having. One piece of feedback we got from the client on the quality of the lead form leads is that they're very difficult to get a hold of a lot of the time. So this is regardless of how frequently they're reaching out to them with phone calls, text messages, and voicemails. A lot of the times those leads just simply don't pick up. And this is interesting, when they do pick up, some of the times they're confused why our client's sales team is reaching out to them in the first place. Either they don't remember filling out the form in the first place, or they're just confused why they're being contacted. And one of the reasons for this, I believe, is because it's so easy to submit a lead form, because you don't have to type your information, you just have to click on a button. The intent is very low, and oftentimes people maybe just think it's kind of like a next button as opposed to actually submitting your information to gain access to something. That being said, the client still did have many high quality conversations with these lead form leads. It's just the percentage of them was very low. Now the client's feedback on the quality of the landing page leads was very different. They were able to contact and actually speak with just about every lead form lead that we generated. They noted that the quality of the conversation was much higher. People were actually expecting the call and actually interested in speaking with the sales team. We no longer saw people who were confused why they were being contacted in the first place. And I'll note that the ads and the offer with these campaigns is the same. So it's not like the one is advertising a lead magnet, whereas the other is advertising an offer to contact the sales team or something like that. They're both opting in to get the same information. But the percentage of high quality conversations the sales team had with the landing page leads was enough to justify paying 10 times more money on the acquisition of those leads in the first place. Here's another few examples from that same client. These campaigns are conversion campaigns using a landing page. The offer here is a bit different. In this case, we're actually optimizing for Calendly appointments. So somebody clicks onto the ad, they're taken to a landing page where there's an embedded Calendly block, and they book an appointment to preview the unit or to speak with the sales team. So I don't have any lead form campaigns to compare against this, but I just wanted to highlight that the cost per conversion in this case obviously is much higher. We're seeing a CPA of between $25 on the low end, but more realistically, it's kind of in the $80 to $130 range, which seems very expensive. But again, the quality of these conversations is very high. So I just wanted to point out that oftentimes you don't need to strive for the very inexpensive high volume leads. Oftentimes higher quality leads are going to be a better bet and a better use of your client's sales team's time. Let's take a look at another example. So this is from a different client, And similar story here, these are the lead generation campaigns, and we actually launched this campaign exclusively using lead form campaigns. You can see that the volume of leads that we generated was quite high, and the cost per lead was $7.11. So a little bit more expensive than the first example, but still relatively inexpensive. And you'll notice that the conversion rate is 15%. So still quite high, lower than the 21% before, but 15% conversion rate is pretty good. Now this was kind of around the same time between these two clients. We were speaking with their sales team and we started noticing the same feedback that the leads were confused why they were being contacted. They weren't expecting a call from the sales team. And so we decided to flip all of these lead form campaigns into conversion campaigns and just see what would happen. So the ads, the copy, the creative, everything, the offer remained the same. The only thing we changed was we developed the landing page and turned it into a conversion campaign. And once we did that, these were the results that we started seeing. So you'll notice that there's 5 campaigns as opposed to 3. So 2 of the campaigns, after about a month or so, we duplicated and changed some messaging slightly using the same offer. But these are the 3 same campaigns. And you'll notice that obviously we spent a bit more money because once we started running these, we learned that the quality was much higher. So again, the cost per conversion was slightly higher, not as significantly higher as the first example, but we're seeing a range here between kind of $5 and $13, as opposed to $7 with the lead form campaigns. And the conversion rate dropped a little bit as well. Now it was sitting between 9 and 13% as opposed to 15%. But the same story happened here almost instantly once we flipped over to this campaign. The client sales team immediately noticed that the quality of the conversations went up, the rate of the people that they were able to actually contact in the first place increased, and they actually ended up generating quite a few offers from this as well, which is why we stuck with it and as you can see, spent quite a bit more money on the landing pages than we did the lead forms. Let's take a look at another example. Okay, so this is a lead form campaign. I don't have a conversion campaign to compare this against, but I thought it was interesting to highlight the difference in the cost per lead with this client. So this client, as opposed to the first 2 examples we looked at, is offering a very niche service that is only applicable to a pretty small segment of the total population. And so I just wanted to highlight that even though this was being advertised in one of the same markets as one of the first 2 clients, the cost per result is quite a bit higher. You can see the average is $27 per lead form. And I guess the lesson I wanted to highlight was that it's not always just the copy and the creative that is going to influence the performance of your campaign. You also have to consider what's your total addressable market. So in this case, the audience size is quite a bit smaller. We were still targeting pretty broad audience size on Facebook, but the people who are actually interested in this service is going to be relatively small compared to the total population size. Whereas those first 2 clients, we had a very large audience. They're real estate developers. So maybe the real estate properties we were advertising were not relevant to everybody, but a lot of people are interested in real estate, so it's a lot easier to get in front of and capture the attention of those people. And that leads to increased conversion rates and lower lead costs. So I just thought I would highlight that. And let's take a look at one last example. So this is a campaign that was run at the end of 2019 and just into the beginning of 2020. And it's a conversion campaign using landing pages. But what's interesting, you can see the cost per result here is very inexpensive. It's $1.73. So with this campaign, it was for a restaurant. And what we did was they had a bunch of menu items we wanted to raise awareness to. And so we created kind of this playoff bracket where you could go and vote, like we matched one menu item up against the other, and then you could vote which your favorite was. And then on the landing page, you could also optionally enter your email to join their newsletter. And so the conversion event here was optimizing for people who voted in the contest as opposed to provided their email. But out of these 4,900 people who actually voted, we had 4,084 people optionally enter their email to join the newsletter as well. So even though the primary purpose here wasn't lead generation, we ended up generating leads at a cost of $2 each, in addition to all of this engagement. Now this campaign did really well. We had hundreds of positive comments on the ads from people saying, I love this item, and they were leaving comments and responding to each other. There was a lot of sharing to their friends and family. So we gained quite a bit of additional exposure outside of what you would typically expect with an ad campaign like this, and we generated a bunch of leads as well. And so the point I wanted to highlight here was that the right offer is really going to have a significant influence on your cost per result. And the reason I'm bringing this up in this video is that because many people decide to use lead forms because they think they're less expensive, and that's kind of the only reason. So this example, I just wanted to illustrate that even though we're using landing pages and a conversion objective, we were still able to achieve way less expensive leads than we probably would have been able to achieve using a lead form campaign. And it's not because of any crazy tactics that we used, it's really just because the offer that we were promoting was very well suited for this audience and for social media. So whereas a real estate offer is something that's not something people are going to be looking for when they're browsing their Facebook feed, something like this is a lot more fun and engaging, something you'd expect to see on social media. So because of that, I think it was well suited for the platform, something that people ended up having fun engaging with, and the result was that the cost per result was very inexpensive as well. So if you do want to continue using lead form campaigns, there are a few possible ways that you can increase the quality of leads. One of those is to use custom fields as opposed to the default fields. So when you choose the name field and the email field and the phone field, which Facebook provides by default, it's going to match those with the name, email, phone number fields in the contact profile of the people who see the ad. Instead, what you can try doing is using a custom question and just label it name, email, and phone number. That way, when people open up the form, they actually have to manually type that information in themselves, as opposed to it being pre-populated. This potentially solves the problem of people not understanding that they're completing a form. And by having to type that information out manually, they're going to have to think twice about, is this something I actually want to provide my information in exchange for? This is also going to increase the likelihood that your sales team is going to be able to contact them because they're aware that they're opting into something. The result is probably that your conversion rate will be a bit lower and your cost per lead might be a bit higher, but it's possible that the quality of these leads is going to be a bit higher though as well. Another thing to do is set very clear expectations on that first page of your lead form. Sometimes what I see marketers do is maybe they're not very clear or transparent up front about what people are actually opting in for, just for the purpose of increasing conversion rates. But the result is that once people opt in and they get a bad experience, they get something, a lead magnet or otherwise that's not what they expected, then the likelihood that they're actually going to continue doing business with you or pick up a phone call from a salesperson is pretty low. So what I encourage you to do is on the first page of your lead form, just be very, very clear about what people are actually opting in for and what they're going to get. And then lastly, be realistic with your own expectations that you can achieve with your lead forms. So it's true that you'll probably be able to achieve a higher volume of leads, but understand that the quality is probably going to be a bit lower overall. This doesn't mean you can't find high quality leads using lead forms, but it does mean that the percentage of leads you generate are probably going to be lower quality on average. So you might end up having to follow up with 3 times as many people in order to find that one great high quality lead. Okay, so let's say you want to develop a landing page and use a conversion objective. What do you need to do to get started? So obviously you need some kind of tool to develop a landing page. And the tool that I use at the marketing agency I work for is called Unbounce. It's one of the better landing page tools. It provides a lot of functionality, makes it really easy to design nice looking landing pages. We can add multiple domains and use it for multiple clients. So it's really great to use. The downside is that it can be a bit pricey. So with our agency plan, we're paying, I think, a couple $100 per month. I think the starting plan starts at about $80 per month. So if you're just getting started, that might be a little bit out of your price range. You could also consider something like ClickFunnels, which is about $100 per month. In my opinion, the ability to design nice looking pages using ClickFunnels is lower than with a tool like Unbounce. It's not as user friendly to understand, but it is a lot better in my opinion for e-commerce type things and funnels where you have multiple steps, upsells, downsells, and stuff like that. Now, another thing to consider is if you're already using an email marketing service like MailChimp, Aweber, ActiveCampaign, MailerLite, etc. A lot of these email marketing tools nowadays include landing page building tools. They're not the best and most robust tools, but if you're already paying for that service, then it might be worth using that tool to build your landing page. Most of these tools come at a cost as well, but it's often less expensive than buying a lot of these top-end landing page building tools. So for a little bit less money, you can get both an email tool and a landing page building tool as well. You could also consider something like MailerLite, which is a tool that I use for my personal stuff. It's free up to 1,000 contacts and you get 12,000 email sends per month. And it also includes a free landing page builder as well. Again, it's not the best landing page builder on the market, but it definitely allows you to achieve what you need to if you're running a simple lead generation campaign. So where can you go for inspiration if you want to design nice looking landing pages? The first place I would recommend is Facebook's ad library. So if you go there, you can search for businesses and brands that you know, like big brands, or just businesses in your community. Click onto their ads and just look at their landing pages and see what you like. It's hard to know for sure which of these are high converting because we don't have access to that data, but you can just kind of use your intuition and take a look at some designs that you like and just try and replicate that in your own style. Another good place to look is web design awards or marketing award websites. So there's lots of sites and organizations that offer awards to marketing campaigns, ad campaigns, but also for graphic design and web development. So I'll leave a couple examples on the screen now. These are some places you can go to just look at like very nice, high quality landing pages and websites. A lot of the times these might be a little unrealistic for you to achieve. The reason they're award winning is because they're probably doing some really fancy stuff, but it can be a good place to go for inspiration. And then lastly, look for templates. So you can just Google templates, landing pages for whatever industry you're working in. You can also go to a tool like Canva, which I use for graphic design, and they offer a bunch of templates for websites. Or there's a bunch of marketplaces as well that sell templates, so that might be a good place to start. You can go and buy a relatively inexpensive template. I hope you got some value out of this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.